Nitai pada Kamala Koti Chandra Sushita Yechayai Jagata Jurai
Nitai pada Kamala Koti Chandra Sushitala Yechayai Jagata Jurai
Hena Nitai Binebai Radha Krishna Patenai Dritha Koridoro Nitai Pai
Hena Nitai Binebai Radha Krishna Paitenai Dritha Koridoro Nitai Pai
Sambandana Hirja Brihajama Gelotar Sei Pasho Boro Durachar
Sambandana Hirja Brihajama Gelotar Sei Pasho
Nitai nabolilo mukhe Majila samsara sukhe Vidya kule ki kori betar
Nitai nabolilo balilo mukhe Majilo samsara sukhe Vidya kule ki kori betar
Ahankara mata hoya Nitai pada pasariya Asatyere satya korimani
Ahankara mata hoya Nitai pada pasariya Asatyere satya korimani
Nitaye karuna habe Raja Radha Krishna pave Dara Nitai charana dutani
Nitaya karuna habe
Raja Radha Krishna pave Dara Nitai charana dutani Nitaya charana satya Dahara Savaka Nitya Nitai Pada Sada Korosh
Nitaya charana satya
Dahara Savaka Nitya Nitai Pada Sada Korosh Narottama Boro Suki Suki Nitai More Koro Suki Rakoranga Charane Rapash
Narottama Boro Suki Nitai More Koro Suki Rakoranga Charane Rapash
Nitai Pada Kamala Koti Chandra Sushitala Yechayai Jagata Jurai
Nitai pada Kamala Koti Chandra Sushitala Yechayai Jagata Jodai
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Nitai, 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 Jaya Nityanandaram, 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 Jaya Nityanandaram, Jaya Nityanandaram, 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 Jaya Nityanandaram, Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai, Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Panchatattva, Jaya Panchatattva, Jaya Panchatattva, Jaya Panchatattva, Nitai Satchi Sundar, Nitai Satchi Sundar, Jaya Nitai Satchi Sundar, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada.
Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada,
Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Pandava Prabhu, Bhagavati Mataji, Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. Nitai Pata Kamala. Beautiful. Very nice rendition. Very nice rendition. Well done, well done. Welcome, Pandava Prabhu, Bhagavati Mataji, Amit, Amritarate Mataji, and Rituvan Vihari Prabhu, I'm sure, in the background somewhere. Welcome, Shushila Ben and Prakash. I hope you're all well. Yes.
Prabhu, should we read the meaning of this song?
There is no question here. You must read the translation of the song, and even if I forget to mention it, you must read the translation. Please.
So it's translation from kksongs.org, not the one with extended, elaborate version.
Yes, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. Go ahead, and maybe you can say a few words about the verses as well as you go along.
So there are four shlokas. So the first is: the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda are a shelter where one will get the soothing moonlight, not only of one, but of millions of moons. If the world wants to have real peace, it should take shelter of Lord Nityananda. Unless one takes shelter under the shade of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, it will be very difficult for him to approach Radha Krishna. If one actually wants to enter into the dancing party of Radha Krishna, he must firmly catch hold of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda.
Anyone who has not established his relationship with Nityananda Prabhu is understood to have spoiled his valuable human birth. Such a human being is actually an uncontrollable animal, because he never uttered the holy name of Nityananda. He has become merged into so-called material happiness. What can his useless education and family tradition do to help him?
Being maddened after false prestige and identification with the body, one is thinking, oh, what is Nityananda? What can he do for me? I don't care. The result is that he is accepting something false to be truth. If you actually want to approach the association of Radha Krishna, you must first achieve the mercy of Lord Nityananda. When he is merciful towards you, then you will be able to approach Radha Krishna. Therefore, you should firmly grasp the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda.
The lotus feet of Nityananda are not illusion. They are a fact. One who engages in the transcendental loving service of Nityananda is also transcendental. Always try to catch the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. This Narottam Dasa is very unhappy. Therefore, I am praying to Lord Nityananda to make me happy. My dear Lord, please keep me close to your lotus feet.
So just only few words. So this is very, very strong, very strong message. And from Narottam Das Thakur, he he gives example of a human being who is not interested in spiritual life and inquiring about Lord Nityananda or Lord Chaitanya. He compared human being to an animal, uncontrolled animal. So if he could have this kind of vision 500 years ago in a different society, then what he could say about present modern day. So it's kind of really interesting that this false prestige and scientific knowledge that is propagated now makes people really mad about false identity as human beings, and they really don't care, bluntly or openly, they don't care about spiritual life and God realization. They just laugh about anything. That's also my experience from contact with some people. So it's very true. So for us as devotees or inspiring devotees, Narottam Das Thakur gives very good advice here, that we have to really keep in touch with lotus feet, hold on very tightly lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, because he gives not only happiness, but he blesses us with going into pastimes of Radha and Krishna. Lord Nityananda Prabhu ki jai.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Beautiful translation. Thank you for your words of enlightening us a little bit about Lord Nityananda, whose appearance day was just not very long ago. So, welcome tonight. Welcome, Amit. Welcome, Amritarate Mataji and Rituvan Vihara Das. And welcome Shushila Ben Jayanti Bai, Pandava Prabhu Bhagavati Mataji, and Prakash. Chitan will come a little bit later, and I'm sure Vashana and Rashmi will also join us. So, Hare Krishna. Let's start off with Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. We have the first canto, 12th chapter still, and text 22, and it is in the chat right now. Oh no, 1622, that is wrong. 11222 it should be. Yes, I'll have given you the wrong 11222. That is different. Okay, here we go. One 1222. Let's. You got set? 11222. Everybody got set? Last time we had 21, and we spoke about the Pandavas, Arjuna, he has a lot. Okay, so we are definitely on 11222. Bhagavati Mataji, you want to, or Pandava Prabhu, read us, give us a reading of the 22nd verse of the 12th chapter of the first canto.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Mriganza iva vikranto, nishevyo himavan iva, Titikshur Vaso Sahishnu Pitarav Iva. This child will be as strong as a lion and as worthy a shelter as the Himalaya mountains. He will be forbearing like the earth and as tolerant as his parents. One is compared to the lion when one is very strong in chasing an enemy. One should be a lamb at home and a lion in the chase. The lion never fails in the chase of an animal. Similarly, the head of the state should never fail in chasing an enemy. The Himalaya mountains are famous for all richness. There are innumerable caves to live in, numberless trees of good fruits to eat, good springs to drink water from, and profuse drugs and minerals to cure diseases. Any man who is not materially prosperous can take shelter of these great mountains, and he will be provided with everything required. Both the materialists and the spiritualists can take advantage of the great shelter of the Himalayas. On the surface of the earth, there are so many disturbances caused by the inhabitants. In the modern age, the people have begun to detonate atomic weapons on the surface of the earth, and still the earth is forbearing to the inhabitants, like the mother who excuses a little child. Parents are always tolerant to children for all sorts of mischievous acts. An ideal king can be possessed of all these good qualities, and the child Parikshit is foretold to have all these qualities in perfection.
Thank you very much, Bhagavati Mataji. Say a few words about the verse purport, please.
So this is the continuation of the horoscope of Maharaj Parikshit, done, as far as I remember, by the Brahmanas. So there are many things in the purports we can focus on, but the text itself from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is saying that the child Parikshit will be very strong like a lion, and that he will be a shelter as Himalaya mountains, and he will be tolerant like the earth, like the Mother Earth. So at the moment, this is in the purport in one sentence. The Srila Prabhupada is saying that in the modern age, the people have even on the surface of the earth, there are so many disturbances caused by the inhabitants. So actually, at the very moment now, we are in the threat, as they say, even of the war. Although it is really difficult to believe, because we are, I think all of us are a generation which knows the war only from the books or films or stories or even family stories, but still something we never experienced. So the threat is there, and so of course we shouldn't get under the kind of panic or something, but here is the confirmation that the Mother Earth is disturbed, and that that very moment Mother Earth in many ways is disturbed, but still the earth is still tolerating, and So coming back to this topic, to this aspect I mentioned about the threat of the war. So we have here the advice that Himalayas, but I would say also other mountains can be a shelter. If not anything else, we can always go to the mountains somewhere, which can provide us pure water, clean water, and caves, and even something to eat. And also, I don't want to be taken as like very pessimistic and black, with black, I don't know, thinking, but this is, we can sometimes, we can remember the advice of the Bhagavatam, and also the leader of the state or of the nation should be strong as the lion. And Prabhupada is saying that lion never fails in chasing the enemy. But in comparison to our present situation, we should be careful about this, who in deciding who is the lion. But we should, but we as the devotees, we should actually remember that all of these disturbances will always be there. And of course, materially speaking, like shelter might be mountains or forest, but our shelter should be the holy name of the Lord in every situation. And nowadays, even more than maybe more, even more than in other moments. So actually, there are many other points here, but I don't want to be too talkative.
Thank you very much, Bhagavati Mataji. Thank you. No, that is just about the right time, not too long. Okay, Prakash Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Thank you for coming here for some time. Hare Krishna. See you on Wednesday. So, okay, Prakash has to go. Coming and going. Thank you very much, everyone. Pandava Prabhu, Bhagavati Mataji, Amit, Amrita Rathe Mataji, Shishila Ben, Jay. Not quite sure who is Jay, but Jay is here. And Jayanti Bai is here, and Rashmi Mataji is here. Welcome all. Hare Krishna. So, yes, I would not necessarily disagree with Bhagavati Mataji and the threat of war. Srila Prabhupada says war is a feature of this world. War must be there. And taking all that karma and all that billions and billions of animals slaughtered mercilessly, it must come out somewhere. That karma must come out somewhere. I just, not to go on too long on that point, yes, I also don't want to scare anybody, but we have to understand that war is a feature of this world. Our generation, my generation, as Bhagavati Mataji said, we haven't experienced the war. We're the first generation for a long time who haven't experienced any war. That was the greatest peace period in between wars. But now there's a lot of warmongering going on, and not only from the Russians. There's a lot of propaganda going on. Generally, when the economy is in a very bad shape, when the growth of the economy is below 2%, then there is a war. It has been like that for the First World War. It has been like that for the Second World War. And now the economy is going bad worldwide. So, provocations. And Srila Prabhupada also said, they have invented nuclear weapons. they will be used. It's unthinkable we could enter into World War III in a nuclear war. Unthinkable. But actually it's not. It doesn't have to be long. It can be only a few days, a week or something like that. But by then, end of that week, London will be flattened. Moscow will be probably flattened. New York will be flattened. Paris will be flattened. Not everything will be destroyed, but some major cities will be just like flat. Nobody surviving. And the radiation there afterwards, of course. But then Srila Prabhupada always said, after the war, that's also a very interesting indication. He said, after the war, the preaching will be very good. Now nobody wants to hear about Krishna. Everybody is so comfortable. But once a war has been there and everybody has been directly and is directly affected, then people remember, oh God, oh Krishna, oh Christ, oh Jesus Christ, oh Allah. Then people come to their senses. Okay, not more than that. You can make your own conclusions, and we will find out in due course of time. And there is really not much to do except taking shelter of Krishna now, where we can. Anyone has any question to that shloka? And we have a quiz tonight at the end, because we didn't have one for a bit of time. And the quiz is on these verses of the Bhagavatam. So try to catch every detail, because there's some detailed questions there. Okay. If there are no questions, let's do the next shloka, which is 23. Rashmi Mataji, you want to do 23? Welcome, Ben. We're on text 23 of the 12th chapter of the first canto. Rashmi Mataji, yes?
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Chapter 12, text 23.
Yes.
Pitamaha sama samye prasade girishopamaha ashraya sarva bhutanam yatha devo ramashrayah. Translation: this child will be like his grandfather Yudhishthir, or Brahma, in equanimity of mind. Equanimity of mind. He will be munificent like the Lord of the Kailash hill, Shiva. And he will be the resort of everyone like the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, who is even the shelter of the goddess of fortune. Purport: mental equanimity refers both to Maharaj Yudhishthir and to Brahma, the grandfather of all living beings. According to Sridhar Swami, the grandfather referred to is Brahma, but according to Vishwanath Chakravarti, the grandfather is Maharaj Yudhishthir himself. But in most cases, the comparison is equally good, because both of them are recognized representatives of the Supreme Lord, and thus both of them have to maintain mental equanimity, being engaged in warfare work for the living being. Any responsible executive agent at the top of administration has to tolerate different types of onslaughts from the very persons from whom he works. Brahmaji was criticized even by the gopis, the highest perfectional devotees of the Lord. The gopis were dissatisfied with the work of Brahmaji because Lord Brahma, as creator of this particular universe, created eyelids which obstructed their seeing Lord Krishna. They could not tolerate a moment's blinking of their eyes, for it kept them on seeing their beloved Lord Krishna. So what to speak of others who are naturally very critical of every action of a responsible man? Similarly, Maharaj Yudhishthir had to cross over many difficult situations created by his enemies, and he proved to be most perfect maintainer of mental equanimity in all critical circumstances. Therefore, the example of both grandfathers for maintaining equanimity of mind is quite fitting. Lord Shiva is a celebrated demigod who awards gifts to beggars. His name is therefore Ashutosh, or one who is pleased very easily. He is also called Bhutnath, or the Lord of the common folk, who are mainly attached to him because of his munificent gifts, even without consideration of the after effects. Ravan was very attached to Lord Shiva, and by easily pleasing him, Ravan became so powerful that he wanted to challenge the authority of Lord Ram. Of course, Ravan was never helped by Lord Shiva when he fought with Ram, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the Lord of Lord Shiva. To Vrikashur, Lord Shiva awarded a benediction which was not only awkward but also disturbing. Vrikashur became empowered by the grace of Lord Shiva to vanish anyone's head simply by touching it. Although this was awarded by Lord Shiva, the cunning fellow wanted to make an experiment of the power by touching the head of Lord Shiva. Thus, the Lord had to take shelter of Vishnu to save himself from trouble, and the Lord Vishnu, by his illusory potency, asked Vrikasur to make an experiment with his own head. The fellow did it and was punished himself, and so the world was saved from all sorts of trouble by such a cunning beggar of the demigods. The excellent point is that Lord Shiva never denies anyone any sort of gift. He is therefore the most generous, although sometimes some kind of mistake is made. Rama means the goddess of fortune, and her shelter is Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu is the maintainer of all living beings. There are innumerable living beings, not only on the surface of this earth, but also in all other hundreds of thousands of planets. All of them are provided with all necessities of life for the progressive march towards the end of self-realization. But on the path of sense gratification, they are put into difficulty by the agency of Maya, the illusory energy, and so travel the path of a false plan of economic development. Such economic development is never successful because it is illusory. These men are always after the mercy of the illusory goddess of fortune, but they do not know that the goddess of fortune can only live under the protection of Vishnu. Without Vishnu, the goddess of fortune is an illusion. We should therefore seek the protection of Vishnu instead of directly seeking the protection of the goddess of fortune. Only Vishnu and the devotees of Vishnu can give protection to all. And because Maharaj Parikshit was himself protected by Vishnu, it was quite possible for him to give complete protection to all who wanted to live under his rule.
Thank you, Rashmi Mataji. A lot of points here. Speak about something.
So these are the qualities being described being predicted of Maharaj Parikshit, that he has equanimity of mind. He is very generous like Lord Shiva, and he gives shelter to everyone. So all these three qualities are present in him. So equanimity of mind. Actually, Prabhuji, just today in the Bhagavad Gita class, is Amrita Radhe Mataji there? I cannot remember why we did it. We can ask her. We talked about this verse, which talked about, it was chapter 5. It said about equanimity, Brahma Bhuta. It was not that verse, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma, but basically it was being equal. What was it, Mataji? You remember?
Are you talking about the Brahmane? Yeah, we've studied equanimity, Brahmane Gavi Hastini, that one, right?
Right. Yeah. Today we did, na, in the morning.
Yes. Pandita Samadarshina, I think.
Yes. Can you just explain that?
Oh, yes. What was explained in that verse was that that a self-realized soul. Basically, in that verse, the definition of a really knowledgeable person was given. Krishna explains that that a knowledgeable person or a learned person will see an elephant, a brahmana, a cow, and everyone with an equal vision, because he sees not their body but the spirit soul within them, and also he sees the presence of Paramatma in all living entities. So because of this realization, he is equal to all. He can treat everyone with respect, or or can have equanimity for everyone. Is that what you're talking about, Rashmi Mataji?
Yes. Yeah. So, so yes. So this Parikshit Maharaj, this verse says he had that equanimity of mind, and also I think equanimity here in this case means also because he will if he's a ruler, he will not be able to please everyone, so he will be criticized. So some sorrow will also come in his life, but he still remains the same. His mind remains still same. It does not he doesn't get distressed. Okay, Prabhuji, that.
Okay, thank you, Rashmi. Hare Krishna. Now, it just was mentioned, the verse is actually the verse in the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, text 18, Vidya Vinaya Sampane, Brahmanaga Vihashtini Sunis Chaiva Svapake Cha Pandita Samadarshina. The humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater. So this is equanimity, this is equal vision. It's easy to say, isn't it? Easy to say, we have equal vision. But do we have that vision, actually? We may think we have that vision. And Srila Prabhupada often speaks about it. We are not Hindus, we are not Christians, we are not Mohammedans, we are not English, we are not Indian, we are not American, German. We are none of these. We, the soul, the Atma, we are this Atma. We are the observer. We have no passport. The Atma has no passport. The Atma has doesn't belong to a particular community, not even to a gender. We as souls, we are not even male and female. So it is easy to talk equal vision. Do we have that equal vision? Let's give an example. Let's put it to a test. Rashmi or Amrita Radhe Mataji or Amit or anybody else. That's a real question. Huh? Answer it honestly. If your son or your daughter, young son, young daughter, Rashmi like Krishna, and future children, if they come to you one day and they say, Mata, probably they say, Mommy, I have a girlfriend or a boyfriend. In the case of a son, will come, I have a girlfriend. I want to introduce her to you. In fact, I want to marry her. So you'll be all excited and finding out, even so maybe a bit disappointed that you haven't arranged it. And then it turns out the girl he wants to marry is a black African. How would you feel, Rashmi? How would
Very unhappy.
Very unhappy, isn't it? Even so, we know with the soul is not this, not that. We are not black, we are not white, and on top of it, she is a Muslim. And the other way, if it's the daughter who is even probably more protected, and she comes home and says, "I have a black Muslim woman and I want to marry her." So these are real things. And then we find out how deep is our realization of course, there may be some arguments pro and con of such a marriage. That's a different story. But the initial reaction will be not one of equal vision. So just as a little side, I'm sure everybody else feels like that too. Because, Rashmi, you want Krishna to marry a nice Indian girl, I'm sure. And everybody else, more or less the same thing. So that's how our conditioning, it's easy to speak about it, but it's very deep. It's deep, deep, deep. Amit, last week in Bhagavad Gita, he said, due to our class the previous week, I have realized, because Amit is working as a steward in the football grounds in Leicester, and he said, I have realized I shall not identify with this football club and get carried away like 21,000 other people who are completely carried away and cheering for the team, and they would fight for the team. And if the team loses, they are depressed and they may go on a rampage. And if the team wins, they overjoy, they have festivals in the street, and the beer is flowing freely and so on. So this is identification goes deep, very deep, easy to theorize and speak about it. But actually, when we really look at it, it goes deep. So Amit, and I was very happy to hear that. He said, I have realized that that's not the right thing to do, to identify with the Leicester Football Club. And it doesn't mean Amit has to stop his job as a steward and volunteer. We can do that. But detachment happens within. Detachment doesn't mean he never looks at a football club down at in south of Leicester, or he makes a big turnaround when he goes near with the car or anything. That doesn't mean it, no. An internal detachment. We cannot run away from this world. We spoke on Wednesday also. We cannot go to the Himalayas. And even so, Arjuna was even proposing that to Krishna. I don't want to fight this ghastly war. I rather go to the forest and meditate. So he wanted to run away. And some people, and that was last week also confirmed by Amit, that is general understanding we have learned from Hindi films and so many other sources that Krishna consciousness means, spiritual life means we have to give up everything. No. We don't have to give up. Arjuna didn't give up his duty as a kshatriya. We don't have to give up. Well, we have to give up the meat eating and the intoxication, illicit sex and gambling. That we have to give up, yes. But not our duty, our varna, our ashrams, our responsibilities. But we have to give up what we have to give up. What we have to give up. Ben, what would you say? In Krishna consciousness, if we don't have to give up external circumstances which could easily be running away from it, a cheap excuse not to do our responsibilities. So what then do we have to give up, Ben? What would you say? We have spoken about that before. Anybody else? What we have to give up?
False identification with the body, even though it sounds really massive, but
Yes, identification. The spirit of enjoyment, right? That spirit, which is all pervading. We want to enjoy. That's our motivation for everything we're doing in this life. Because we want to enjoy. We want to get the reward from our action and enjoy the result. Right? So that we have to give up. That spirit of enjoyment. And that has to be replaced with the spirit of service. And that is love. If we serve Krishna in a various way, there's so many ways we can serve Krishna. Okay.
But what if enjoyment is coming from that as well?
Yes, of course. But that's a higher enjoyment. That's a real enjoyment. That's a never-ending enjoyment. That's an enjoyment with Krishna. This enjoyment is okay. Not kind of enjoyment. It is an enjoyment, but a much, much more greater. A permanent enjoyment. It's not an enjoyment which is here now in the next moment. It's finished out of whatever reasons. A permanent enjoyment. That's a real enjoyment. That we are looking for this enjoyment, for the essence of everything, ever new and fresh. It is explained in the Shastra, Krishna within the heart. If we remember him, if we are Krishna conscious, he makes our experience ever new and fresh. Isn't that nice? New and fresh. Everyone wants everything new and fresh. Everybody is wanting something new and fresh. New clothes, new car, new house, new this, new that. So many things. Pandava, Bhagavati. And this up, very good.
One thing in connection to that, as far as I remember, the jiva is called the enjoyment seeker. I don't remember exactly, but we all have this sense, deep sense of enjoyment, because this is part of our nature as a spiritual soul, and because we are kind of small Krishnas. And so, as you said, we have to give up, but sorry, but I would rather put it in not that we don't have to give up this sense of enjoyment, but we have to give up attachment to the material type of enjoyment, because sense of enjoyment or seeking for happiness will be always within us, because this is part of the jiva. So enjoyment in a sense that, as you said, like service for Krishna, but attachment, we should rather give up attachment, meaning it is also very wide topic. We were discussing that also with Janaki Mataji, the disciple of Srila Prabhupada, that attachment, that giving up the attachment doesn't mean that we will be negative towards everything which is around us, or we will be just completely, we will not care about anything. Detachment means that we deeply understand that we have to do our duties. We enjoy because this is nature of the soul. But but our goal is to come back to Krishna. Of course, this is difficult to put it in words and in a short moment, but sorry, this is my kind of reflection in this discussion.
Thank you. Yes, of course. Not only human beings, every living entity seeks happiness. Even the ant on the ground. With a bit of sugar, they're getting all intoxicated. So everybody seeks happiness. So better to say we have to give the spirit of enjoyment, which is separate from Krishna. Right? That spirit we should give up. And that spirit can, of course, like you explained, can be given up by taking to the service, to doing something for Krishna, because this is what we actually are looking for. And it's ever new and fresh. Krishna within the heart. If whatever we do is connected to Krishna, Krishna will make that experience in the heart ever new and fresh. It's not an external thing what makes it ever new and fresh. We can buy the most latest new whatever article, object, and we don't get that experience of new and fresh. We might get it, we might not get it. So it's not in the object, that experience of new and fresh. It's within the heart. That inspiration, that connection with Krishna makes everything new and fresh. Okay, Hare Krishna. I have some questions, Rashmi, for you or anybody else. Lord Shiva's, many people are very eager to worship Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva's benedictions, they're easily achieved, yes. Are they beneficial for us in the long term? What kind of people seeking benedictions from Lord Shiva? Who can say? Amrita Rati, what do you say?
Prabhu, generally materialists also worship Lord Shiva, because as is mentioned in the purport itself, that Lord Shiva is Ashutosh, he's very easily pleased. And like here, the example of Vrikasura, so the Asuras wanting to enjoy separate from Krishna, wanting material benedictions, worship Lord Shiva. But to add to this, even yogis, wanting perfection in Ashtanga Yoga, they worship Lord Shiva. And even bhaktas, wanting pure devotion, worship Lord Shiva, because there's one Rudra Sampradaya, which is a Vaishnav Sampradaya. In addition to this, I would want to just share one more point about worshipping Lord Shiva, which I heard in one lecture of Bhakti Purushottam Maharaj, and also it was further elaborated on by Pankajangri Prabhu once. Bhakti Purushottam Maharaj said that, moon controls our mind. And he was basically giving a lecture on Rudra Geet. Moon controls or has an influence on our mind. So people who have, disturbance of mind, they can worship Lord Shiva and seek his blessings so that the mind can become undisturbed. But Pankajangri Prabhu, in another lecture I heard, was that it was Radhashtami lecture, that Radharani has a half moon on her lotus feet. So that means that the half moon which is on Lord Shiva's head, so it's already there on Radharani's lotus feet. So by worshipping Radharani, the supreme worshipper, then also our mind will come under control or will become stable and peaceful and blissful. So these are some
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Amrita Radha Mataji. Yes, of course, there's a big difference. If the materialist or the demons worshipping Lord Shiva for material benediction, or if as a devotee, as a Vaishnava, we approach Lord Shiva, and there is a beautiful verse, Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu. Lord Shiva is the greatest of Vaishnavas. We have spoken about that many times. We don't need to go more on about that, but if we recognize Lord Shiva as a Vaishnav, not as a supreme personality, But as a Vaishnava, as a servant of the Lord, of Lord Krishna, then that is a proper. And if Lord Shiva can give us benediction and help us to come closer to Krishna, that is most welcome. Hare Krishna. There are many other points. We cannot go through all of them. Anyone has any question to that shloka before we go on to the next? Welcome, Vaishnava Mataji. Hare Krishna. So,
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
any question? Pandava Prabhu Bhagavati Mataji, your arm is still up or you forgot to put it down? Okay. So let's go on to the next. Ben Prabhu, would you like to read us text 24?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, very good.
Can you
Your
hear me?
audio is superb.
I'm glad to hear. 24. Sarva Sadguna Mahatmayi Esha Krishnam Anuvarata Ranti Deva Ivodaro Yayatir Eva Dharmika. Translation. This child will be almost as good as Lord Sri Krishna by following in his footsteps. The magnanimity, he will become as great as King Ranti Dev. In religion, he will be like Maharaj Yayati. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The last instruction of Lord Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita is that one should give up everything and should follow in the footsteps of the Lord. Excuse me, because I'm reading from the book. Alone. Less intelligent persons do not agree to this great instruction of the Lord, as ill luck would have it. But one who is actually intelligent catches up this sublime instruction and is immensely benefited. Foolish people do not know that association is the cause of acquiring qualities. Association with fire makes an object hot, even in the material sense. Therefore, association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead makes one qualified like the Lord. As we have discussed previously, one can achieve 78% of the godly qualities of the Lord's intimate association. To follow the instructions of the Lord is to associate with the Lord. The Lord is not a material object whose presence one has to feel for such association. The Lord is present everywhere and at all times. It is quite possible to have his association simply by following his instruction, because the Lord and his instruction, and the Lord and his name, fame, attributes, and paraphernalia are all identical with him, being absolute knowledge. Maharaj Pariksit associated with the Lord even from the womb of his mother up to the last day of his valuable life, and thus acquired all the essential good qualities of the Lord in all perfection. Ranti Dev, an ancient king prior to the Mahabharata period, referred to by Narad Muni while instructing Sanjay, as mentioned in the Mahabharata, Dronaparva 67. He was a great king, liberal for hospitality and distribution of foodstuffs. Even Lord Sri Krishna praised his acts of charity and hospitality. He was blessed by the great Vaishta Muni for supplying him cold water, and thus he achieved the heavenly planet. He used to supply fruits, roots, and leaves to the rishis, and thus he was blessed by them with fulfillment of his desires. Although a Kshatriya by birth, he never ate flesh in his life. He was especially hospitable to Vashishta Muni, and by his blessings only he attained the higher planetary residence. He is one of those pious kings whose names are remembered in the morning and the evening. Yayati, the great emperor of the world and the original forefather of all great nations of the world, who belong to the Aryan and Indo-European stock. He is the son of Maharaj Nahusa, and he became the emperor of the world due to his elder brothers becoming a great and liberated saintly mystic. He ruled over the world for several thousands of years and performed many sacrifices and pious activities recorded in history. Although his early youth was very lustful and full of romantic stories, he fell in love with Devayani, the most beloved daughter of Sukracharya. Devayani wished to marry him, but at first he refused to accept her because of her being the daughter of a Brahmana. According to Shastra, a Brahmana could marry the daughter of a Brahmana. They were very much cautious about Varna Sankara population in the world. Shukracharya amended this law of forbidden marriage and induced Emperor Yayati to accept Devayani. Devayani had a girlfriend named Sarmishta, who also fell in love with the emperor and thus went to her friend Devayani. Shukracharya forbade Emperor Yayati to call Sharmishta into his bedroom, but Yayati could not strictly follow his instruction. He secretly married Sharmishta also and begot sons by her. When this was known by Devayani, she went to her father and lodged a complaint. Yayati was much attached to Devayani, and when he went to his father-in-law's place to call her, Shukracharya was angry with him and cursed him to become impotent. Yayati begged his father-in-law to withdraw his curse, but the sage asked Yayati to ask youthfulness from his son and let them become old as the condition of his becoming potent. He had 5 sons, 2 from Devayani and 3 from Sharmishta. From his 5 sons, namely Yadu, Turvashu, Druyuhu, Anu, and Puru, 5 famous dynasties, namely the Yadu dynasty, the Yavana Turk dynasty, the Bhoja dynasty, the Malacha dynasty Greek, and the Purava dynasty, all emanated to spread all over the world. He reached the heavenly planets by dint of his pious acts, but he fell down from there because of his self-advertisement and criticizing other great souls. After his fall, his daughter and grandson bestowed upon him their accumulated virtues, and by the help of his grandson and friend Sibi, he was again promoted to the heavenly kingdom, becoming one of the assembly members of Yamraj, with whom he is staying as a devotee. He performed more than 1,000 different sacrifices, gave in charity very liberally, and was very influential king. His majestic power was felt all over the world. His youngest son agreed to award him his youthfulness when he was troubled with lustful desires, even for 1,000 years. Finally, he became detached from worldly life and returned the youthfulness again to his son Puru. He wanted to hand over the kingdom of Puru, but his noblemen and the subjects did not agree. But when he explained to his subjects the greatness of Puru, they agreed to accept Puru as the king and thus emperor. Yayati retired from family life and left home for the forest.
Hare Krishna, a lot of information there. What would you say, Ben?
It's still going.
Yes.
There's another paragraph.
There is what?
There's still another paragraph to go. It's not the end of the purport.
I have to enter the forest.
Oh, is that the
Read.
end? Is that the end? Okay.
No, maybe you have a different version and you have something more. Read it after forest.
Oh
What
no,
do you
I
have?
think I turned the wrong page. No, you're right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what would you say, Ben? What, rather than going through the details, what is a learning point here in all of that purport? What would you say? What can we learn from all that?
I mean, I mean, in regards to the second king, he was afflicted by obviously material desires, although he was a very pious soul, but because he focused his attention to achieve his material goals, so he became bewildered by different feelings and emotions, which kind of distracted him from the real goal in life, which was obviously to become a devotee and surrender to Krishna.
Okay. Yes, that is certainly a learning point that we can get bewildered at any time, and we'll have to be very careful. But I mean, what came to my mind, he is going by pious activity. And it needs to be said again, pious activity. Everybody likes to be a pious soul. Everybody likes to do pious deeds, which is okay, which is great. And in fact, one can come with a pious background. It is easy to come to Krishna. Four types of pious men approach Krishna. We know that from the Bhagavad Gita. So, but piety in its own doesn't guarantee us not taking another birth. So piety doesn't get us back home to Godhead. Piety gets us to the heavenly planets. Of course, many people, that's what they want. They just want to have a greater enjoyment. So they're thinking of practicing pious life, and after leaving these bodies, they go to the heavenly planets and enjoy for 10,000 years. And then they have to come back down here. So, but what struck me, that he went to the heavenly planets and fell down because he criticized others. So that spirit of being critical, of criticizing, of advertising himself, look how great I am, and that is still there in the heart. Even if we go to the heavenly planets, that's not gone. That is absolutely amazing. That doesn't disappear from the heart. That can only disappear from the heart by devotional service.
But can you say that? But can you say that that's an aspect of Krishna, like an inherent aspect, like we are, like that? The nature of the soul is to seek pleasure, the highest pleasure and enjoyment in association.
Yes, of course.
Krishna.
That we spoke about with
like
Bhagavati.
This advertisement, this aggrandizement, this fame aspect. It's in his heart, but is it a constitutional aspect of the soul? Is that why it's still there? Is it?
No, it's a material. It's a perverted reflection. It's a material thing of self-aggrandizement. I mean, if someone is a bit advanced in Krishna consciousness, he is not promoting himself. He's promoting Krishna. He's promoting others. He is promoting Vaishnavas. He is humble. Right? Humility is an ornament of a Vaishnava.
So he's basically into self-promotion.
Yes, it was his material contamination. Even so in the heavenly planets, therefore he fell down. This hasn't disappeared from his heart, and he criticized others in the heavenly planets. Critical.
And it said that he had to borrow, well, he didn't borrow, but he got gifted the qualities, the pious credits of his daughter and son. They awarded him them.
But any pious credits didn't help him, did it?
It didn't help him, no, because he was on the yo-yo program.
He was under the false ego, so to speak. Yes, okay, these are some.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, these were some learning points. Thank you very much. Anyone else has to add anything to this text?
Prabhuji, one question. Rantidev was so charitable. He had service attitude. He served rishis and even Vashishta Muni, who I believe was the guru of Dashrath Maharaj. I believe, I'm not sure. How come he only went to the heavenly planet? Any details about that?
Because he wanted to enjoy materially. Simple as that. He didn't want to go back home to Godhead and enjoy with Krishna. He wanted material enjoyment in the heavenly planets. If he wants that, we can have that.
Okay.
But for a devotee, that's not very desirable. Because we know we have to come back to this earthly plane again, take another birth. And in the heavenly planets, it's not. We don't live eternally there. We have to change body. The only place we don't have to change body anymore is in the Vaikuntha world.
True, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Anything else? Anyone? One more verse. Amrita Radhe Mataji. Can you take us the next shloka, which
Okay,
is
Prabhu.
25?
Yes, Prabhu. Dhritya bali sama Krishne praharada ivasad graha ahartaisho swamedhanam vriddhanam pariupasaka. Translation. The child will be like Bali Maharaj in patience, a staunch devotee of Lord Krishna like Prahlad Maharaj, a performer of many Ashwamedh sacrifices, and a follower of the old and experienced men. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Bali Maharaj, one of the 12 authorities in the devotional service of the Lord. Bali Maharaj is the great authority in devotional service because he sacrificed everything to please the Lord and relinquished the connection of his so-called spiritual master, who obstructed him on the path of risking everything for the service of the Lord. The highest perfection of religious life is to attain the stage of unqualified devotional service of the Lord without any cause or without being obstructed by any kind of worldly obligation. Bali Maharaj was determined to give up everything for the satisfaction of the Lord, and he did not care for any obstruction whatsoever. He is the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj, another authority in devotional service of the Lord. Bali Maharaj and the history of his dealings with Vishnu Vamanadev are described in the 8th canto of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Prahlad Maharaj, a perfect devotee of Lord Krishna, his father Hiranyakashipu chastised him severely when he was only 5 years old for his becoming an unalloyed devotee of the Lord. He was the first son of Hiranyakashipu and his mother's name was Kayadhu. Prahlad Maharaj was an authority in devotional service of the Lord because he had his father killed by Lord Nrsimhadev setting the example that even a father should be removed from the path of devotional service if such a father happens to be an obstacle. He had 4 sons, and the eldest son, Virochana, is the father of Bali Maharaj, mentioned above. The history of Prahlad Maharaj's activities is described in the 7th canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam.
Thank you very much, Mataji. Hare Krishna. What is the technical term of these great authorities like Bali Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj and
Mahajan.
Bhishma? Mahajan. So there are 12 Mahajans. So these are very important. The great authorities in the devotional service of the Lord. What can you say a few words? What can we learn from this?
Prabhuji, in one lecture I had heard that sometimes devotees get confused because like other devotees, like the devotees around us are giving us different instruction. One person is saying this, another person is saying that, so we may get a bit confused as in what is the way to please the Lord, or how should we move around in our life. So when such thing comes up in one's head, then one should follow this particular dictum: Mahajana yena gatah sapantha. Walk on the path of the Mahajanas. So it is very important that we understand not only just superficially what are the activities of Bali Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj, but in great depth. Like for example, just a small example, here Prabhupada gives such a massive, great statement saying that Prahlad Maharaj was an authority in devotional service of the Lord because he had his father killed by Lord Nrsimhadev, setting the example that even a father should be removed from the path of devotional service. Now, superficially, this statement may cause, a great, rebellion or whatever, saying that, oh my God, such a strong statement. But we have to understand who is Prahlad Maharaj, what was his mood. When Nrsimhadev asked for a benediction, he said that let me be in this material world, deliver the entire universe, take them all. No, allow me to be in this, I think, in this universe as long as there is even one single living entity suffering. So he was actually a very compassionate soul, not a hard-hearted person who would want his father to be killed. So we must study the lives of these Mahajanas when we should pray to them, that we can actually follow in their footsteps. This is my understanding, Prabhu.
Thank you very much. That was beautiful. Yes. Prahlad Maharaj. Srila Prabhupada was very, very, very fond of Prahlad Maharaj. He spoke a lot about Prahlad and of Prahlad, and because he is such a wonderful preacher, really. He was preaching to his classmates. And he was so compassionate that he didn't want to, as you nicely explained, he didn't want to go back home, take benediction from Lord Nrsimhadev, as long as there are these rascals still rotting within this material world. He wanted to liberate everyone. So that is a quality of a great Vaishnava. Compassion for the fallen souls. We want to help them to become Krishna conscious, help them not to take repeated birth and birth and birth again, but to go back home. And also Krishna wants that. I recently read a very nice quote in a lecture of Srila Prabhupada. Krishna wants that. Krishna wants us all back. So just that alone, that Krishna wants us back. So we, as devotees of Krishna, we cannot deny him that. We have to make all endeavors to get everybody back home to Godhead, because Krishna wants everybody back. all his friends, all his souls back home. So that is Prahlad Maharaj, who is so compassionate, who is the spiritual master of Bali Maharaj, who obstructed him. You might know from the movie, from the Hindi movie, who is the spiritual master, Vaishnava Mataji, who is the spiritual master of Bali Maharaj, who said, don't surrender to this is Lord Vishnu.
I'm not too sure, Prabhu. Was it Vashisht? I don't know.
What's his name?
Was it Shukracharya?
Shukracharya.
For everyone, I can read it now.
Okay, Che says, Che, is it Chitan, Che? In any case, yes,
Oh,
Shukracharya.
Yes, I do remember it was Shukracharya. Yes, from the movie now. Yes.
Okay. What else? What else can be said to this beautiful verse and purport? Anyone has any question? Okay. Can we take one more, or shall we go to our quiz? Let's see.
Quiz, Prabhu.
Huh?
Quiz, Prabhu.
Quiz, you see. Okay, quiz.
Only one small verse.
I knew you were. Rashmi always want more Bhagavatam. I don't want to die not having read all the Bhagavatam. Huh? And I wanted to tell you that I didn't, but I tell you now. Huh? You have such a desire to hear all the Bhagavatam. When you're back home, huh? Krishna personally will read the Bhagavatam to you. Haribol.
Hari Hari.
Let's do one more verse. Who hasn't? Amit. Is he still here? Amit? No, he's gone. Banjani Rashmi. Varshana, you want to read us a bit?
No, I'll just listen. Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay. Is Amritarati Madashi, is your husband still here?
Yes, Prabhu. He will read the Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, he can read the next. Hare Krishna Prabhu. That is text 26.
26. Rajarshinam Janaita Shastra cha Utpatagaminam Nigrahita Kalir Esha Bhuva Dharmasya Karanat. Translation. This child will be the father of the kings who will be like sages. For world peace and for sake of religion, he will be the chastiser of the upstarts and the quarrelsome. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The wisest man in the world is a devotee of the Lord. The sages are called wise men, and there are different types of wise men for different branches of knowledge. Unless, therefore, the king or the head of the state is the wisest man, he cannot control all types of wise men in the state. In the line of royal succession in the family of Maharaj Yudhishthir, all the kings, without exception, were the wisest men of their times. And so also, it is foretold about Maharaj Parikshit and his son Maharaj Janamejai, who was yet to be born. Such wise kings can become chastisers of upstarts and uprooters of Kali, or quarrelsome elements. As will be clear in the chapters ahead, Maharaj Parikshit wanted to kill the personified Kali, who was attempting to kill a cow, the emblem of peace and religion. The symptoms of Kali are wine, woman, gambling, and slaughterhouses. Wise rulers of all states should take lessons from Maharaj Parikshit in how to maintain peace and morality by subduing the upstarts and quarrelsome people who indulge in wine, illicit connection with women, gambling, and meat eating, supplied by regularly maintained slaughterhouses. In this age of Kali, regular license is issued for maintaining all these different departments of quarrel. So how can they expect peace and morality in the state? The state fathers, therefore, must follow the principles of becoming wiser by devotion to the Lord, by chastising the breaker of discipline, and by uprooting the symptoms of quarrel as mentioned above. If we want blazing fire, we must use dry fuel. Blazing fire and moist fuel go ill together. So peace and morality can prosper only by the principles of Maharaj Parikshit and his followers. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Hare Krishna. Can you say a few words to that?
Yes, Prabhu. I'll try. Actually, here Srila Prabhupada says in the purport that the wisest man in the world is a devotee of the Lord. So, a devotee of the Lord is the wisest man, and all others who are there, who are following the devotee, are also wise. So, like Prabhupada says that in a state or in a government, the leader should be the wisest among all the men. Otherwise, he will not be able to control other people. And wise means, like Prabhupada says, that he has to become a devotee of the Lord. And by becoming a devotee of the Lord, he will have the proper intelligence that he can use to, or execute to run his kingdom. Unless until the king is wise, and unless until the king follows the scriptures, unless until he follows the scriptures, these upstarts and quarrelsome people will flourish in the kingdom. Just like nowadays, what is happening? The leaders are not following; they are not devotees of the Lord, and they are not following the scriptures. And on the contrary, they are opening up those quarrelsome and those things which are totally unfavorable and contrary to the religion, contrary to the scriptures. That is, they are opening up slaughterhouses, houses where people gamble, and alcohol shops and illicit, those prostitution. So that is why even if the leaders are there, but the leaders are not trained, they are not devotees of the Lord. That's why they cannot, we cannot think of building a kingdom or building a government without any quarrel, without any bad influences, because the leaders are actually supporting the symptoms of Kali. So that is what I think, like Prabhupada is saying here.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Hare Krishna. I have here, just before we go to our quiz, I have here a beautiful quote of Srila Prabhupada. We heard that before, but you may remember or not. Prabhupada did say that people would want a perfect government. The time will come when people are searching for leadership. They will want it so badly, and they will see that the Hare Krishna devotees are perfect. We speak just about wise men. They have qualities, spiritual qualities, that are so obvious that they will turn to them, and there will be a Hare Krishna government. Hare Krishna! I asked Prabhupada how this would happen. Is it going to happen by a vote of the population? Is it going to happen by a revolution, a small group of people taking over? There are different ways that governments change. Are people going to literally join the Hare Krishna religion, and that's how it is going to happen? I was thinking, why else would they vote for us? Interesting question. Huh? Prabhupada said that this would come about in the way, not in the way we thought. No, it is not necessary that people are going to become Hare Krishna devotees, and therefore tens of millions, hundreds of millions of them are going to vote us into power. And it's not going to be a revolution by a small group. It is going to be by the mass population wanting it. However, they are not necessarily going to be Hare Krishna devotees, but they will desire it because something spiritually has awakened in them. And they can stay in their own faith. They can be Christian, Jews, whatever they are. Prabhupada said that day would come. I said, Prabhupada, how is that going to happen? I was with Hari Sauri at the time. Prabhupada said, that is the Sankirtan movement. he also elaborated, said it was not just the chanting of the holy name, but book distribution. That was a real ultimate effect of our book distribution. We asked Prabhupada very specifically if the book distribution created some kind of a subtle spiritual atmosphere in the world, because even though we gave out millions of books, millions of people were not joining from taking those books. Prabhupada said that it was exactly, that is exactly what it was. The benefit of taking these books and hearing in public the chanting of the holy names on Harinam Sankirtan was and is creating and will create a spiritual environment that will awaken souls, whatever their denomination. That was the most powerful realization that Prabhupada shared with us about book distribution. That is from Memories of Srila Prabhupada by Siddhanta Das. So, people want a proper government, because if they get lied upon and lied and everybody is just exploiting, as we heard in a recent purport, politicians are becoming politicians and they're just trying to exploit the state resources, the resources of the state, and that's all, and plundering and not leading. So that day will come. Hare Krishna. So let's do our quiz. Let's stop here, and next Saturday we carry on. Now I would like to ask everyone, please put your microphone on. So we have a two-way communication during the quiz. It's a short quiz. Microphones on, everyone. Rashmi, microphone on. Okay. Do keep the background noise to the minimum. Jay is a chitin. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes, next time, because I can only see, I don't have the pictures here. So just rename yourself as Chitin. Well, if you come up as Jay, okay. I think I will, next time I'll remember. Okay, so let's, this was a special wish of Chitin on Wednesday. He said, are we not doing a quiz? Are we not doing a game? I said, no, but I will do one. I will specially make one if you come this Saturday. And here he is. So we'll have to do it. We'll have to do the quiz. So how we do that? Classic mode. Let's share that screen. Head over to kahoot.it. Kahoot.it. And the game pin is 8610278.
861?
8610278. Next time, as Ben said recently, if you download from the App Store Kahoot, then that whole experience will be much easier. You open the app and it says game pin and you put it in, and in no time you will be set. So, okay, who we have here? Ben, Chitan, Vaishana Mataji, where are you? So we're missing Varshana. We're just missing Varshana. Rashmi is here, Ben is here, Chitan is here, Amrita Rati Mataji is here. Janti Bhai, if you want to come, do come. If not, just stay as you are. Vashana Mataji, what's happening?
No, I'm trying to get in and I keep getting your screen again.
No, you go to Google and put in kahoot.it. Next time you load down the app Kahoot, then you will not struggle anymore. On anybody, I can only ask Ben how nice it is with the app Kahoot on the App Store. So we're waiting still, Vaishana. And everybody keep your Kishori. Okay, he's here. So everybody keep your background noise to the minimum. Amrita Radhe Mataji, don't talk between you two. That can be very destructive. Just keep it quiet. The microphone is live. And here we start. Questions from our Bhagavatam reading today. Ready. Multi-select. More than one answer could be right. We all had that. Oh, a whole range of answers. Mother, it was mentioned. Forbearing like a mother. Not the king. Cow. Brahmanas. Okay, let's go on. Quiz. It could be more than one answer. You can select more. Yudhishthir. Pandu. Who said Pandu? Not Pandu. Although the picture is misleading. That is actually a picture of Pandu. Who killed the 2 deer in the forest. But I couldn't make it that easy. Both is right. As Srila Prabhupada pointed out, some say Lord Brahma is the grandfather of Parikshit Maharaj, and Lord Brahma is, of course, everybody's grandfather also. Or Yudhishthir, Vishwanath Chakravarti, says something different. It doesn't matter, Srila Prabhupada said they're both great, wonderful devotees. So both answers are right, Brahma and Yudhishthir, but not Pandu. True or false? What are you going to make out of that? False. Who said true?
I said,
I did as well.
I said,
No.
Then I realized it wasn't gopis, it was gopas.
Yes, gopis.
I
Not
know
gopas.
I'd made a mistake as soon as I saw it.
Hare Krishna. The finger slipped. Okay, you have to read these questions very carefully. Hare Krishna. Next. Who is called Ashutosh? Amrita Radhe spoke very nicely about that. Who is Ashutosh? Let's see. Lord Shiva. Krishna is not Ashutosh, no. Lord Shiva. Whose finger slipped here? Hare Krishna. Lord Shiva is Ashutosh. Ashutosh means? What does it mean?
Easy to please.
Yes. Easy to please. True or false? Sorry, that was a question too far ahead. False, of course. We already answered that. What was a boon? What was Lord Shiva's boon? Everybody got set right to kill his enemies. How? What was a boon in particular, in detail? Who can say?
By by his hand, he could touch he could explode the head of the other of anyone he touches. And
Yes, by his finger, touching with his finger or hand, I guess. Touching the head of someone, it will explode into thousands of pieces. What a boon is Lord Shiva giving here. How did he get it? What did he have to do, Vrikasura, to get such a boon?
Vrikasura was meditating. He did a havan kun and was cutting pieces of his flesh. And in the end, he was about to cut his own head off.
Exactly. Can you imagine how demoniac one must be? You make a yagya like we have done at the temple many times, swaha, and each swaha, someone cutting some flesh off his arm, his leg, and offers into fire, swaha. And then Lord Shiva doesn't come. So he is ready to cut off his own head. Then Lord Shiva came, he gave him the boon. And of course, we have heard, Srila Prabhupada spoke about it. Lord Shiva, he was running away from Rikashura. Why did Rikashura want to kill Lord Shiva?
He wanted to test.
Yes, Mataji?
He wanted
Say it
to
again.
test the boon.
No, why did...
He wanted to actually he had lustful desires after Shiva's wife.
He wanted Parvati. So he had to kill Shiva. But Shiva was running away. And he took shelter of Lord Vishnu. So nobody can say Lord Shiva is a supreme. No, Lord Shiva takes shelter of Lord Vishnu. Please, help me. I gave a boon and now this fellow is running after me. No, okay, Lord Vishnu disguised himself and saying, why are you running after Shiva? And he explained, he gave me that boon. I said, Krishna says, Lord Vishnu said, Shiva's boons are never working. What? They're not working? What you saying? No, I mean, they never work. Try it out. Point at your hand. You will see. So I pointed at his head and it worked. The demon was killed. Hare Krishna. Next. Four types of pious people turn to Krishna. Yes, the inquisitive, distressed, the seeker of knowledge, not the one in search for fame. Well done. Next.
Actually, Prabhuji, even seeker of fame, na? Because he's a materialistic person. So,
well,
no?
that's not mentioned in that Bhagavad Gita verse, no.
Okay.
No, they're not always beneficial. Who said they're always beneficial?
My son, Padmanabh.
Okay, Padmanabh. No, they're not always beneficial. In fact, in the long run, they are mostly not beneficial because the material benedictions and material benedictions are not beneficial. So we have so far, on question 8 of 12, we have Amrita Radhe Mataji, Ben, Rashmi, Chitan, Kishori. Next, true or false? Without Vishnu, the goddess of fortune is an illusion. True or false? Yes, we had that in the purport. Quiz. Sarva Dharman. Who said Manmana Bhava Mat Bhakta?
We did.
Mataji. You could say it's the second last instruction, really, and the second most important. Some people say it's the most important, but Srila Prabhupada in the purport to our reading today, he said the last instruction of Bhagavad Gita is to surrender to Krishna. Sarva Dharma Parityaja. Is that what it means, surrender to Krishna? Manmana Bhava Mat Bhakta, always think of me. Quiz. %78%. You remember that very well. Well done. Who is an 84? Who has 84 of the percent of the qualities? Lord Shiva. And who has 94? Someone else?
Lord.
Lord Ram.
No.
I would say, let's say Narayan.
Lord Narayan. So remember that. 78% of Krishna's qualities we can have, maximum. 84 Lord Shiva, we cannot come to that 84. 94 Lord Narayan, even Lord Shiva cannot obtain 94% of Krishna's qualities, and 100% that's only Krishna himself. Well done. Last question. Quiz. Who are the Yavanas?
Turks.
The Turks, yes. The Greek, no. Who are the Greek? How's it called?
Malaysia.
Yes. Okay. Head over to Zoom, back to Zoom. And we are really good on time. Back to Zoom. Put your hand up once you're back into Zoom. Okay. Amrita Radhamadaji, you back in Zoom. Chitan is back in Zoom. Rashmi. What about you, Ben?
I'm back in Zoom too.
Okay, you back in Zoom. What about Vaishana Mataji? Are you still here? Vaishana Mataji, are you still here? I guess so, yes. Okay, let's see how we came out with all of that. Podium. 9 out of 12, Ben. Rashmi. And Hare Krishna. And runner-up Chitan and Kishori. But Chitan, you have to do better next time. Hare Krishna. Very nice. Okay, that was our quiz for.
Yes, the question about the father and grandfather of
that was a bit tricky, wasn't it?
That was a tricky one because Pandu would technically be the grandfather.
Yes, they were both. They were both. Brahma and Yudhishthira. Okay, any other comments? Any other comments to the quiz?
It was fun, Prabhuji. Padma loves your quizzes. My son
It
loves
was
your
fun.
quizzes.
Okay. It was too easy, wasn't it?
I don't think it was easy. It was relevant to what we read, so
Yes, yes.
it was okay. It wasn't too easy. It wasn't too hard. It was
reinforcing what we have been reading, right?
Yeah. Some of the points, yeah.
Yes. So next time, if we do a quiz, I will mix some general question into it. It takes some time to come up with good question. Okay, here we stop tonight. Thank you very much. We'll see you for the booster on Wednesday, hopefully. Have a beautiful week. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone.